the West Coast Podcast. I'm Shane, and as with me as always is my main man, Trey.
Yes, sir. I am Trey. With me is Shane, and we are back with another edition of the West Coast Podcast, coming at you at 7:41 on a Friday evening. And you know how we always say we're coming at you guys, every 2 weeks, at Friday at 10:30. I think really at this point we should just title it, every other Friday whenever Shane texts me and says, "Hey, can you do this?" is really what it should be turning into. But it is what it is. I am known to be pretty flexible, more ways than one, if you know what I'm saying. But but I think the main thing is that just as long as we stay consistent in terms of the days, I mean, who cares if we have to move the time period a few hours back and all that good stuff. And I know Shane's a busy guy and he's got a lot of Shane's got it going on from what I can tell. He's definitely got it going on in terms of the stuff that he does and the people that he surrounds himself with. So it is what it is. But nonetheless, we are excited. We're glad to be back on the West Coast podcast. And the introduction to this, not really too much else to say before we kind of get into it, but Shane, how have you been doing these last few weeks? Anything you want to tell our lovely audience about what you've been up to these last few weeks?
Trey, I do like that you say, yeah, it's basically you guys every other Friday. Sometimes it'll be at 10:30, sometimes earlier. Now, it will hopefully get much better in the next year, where we'll be on time for everything. Especially on my end. Like I said, Trey's super flexible, like he said, in more ways than one. So props to that, man. He does his yoga daily. He does all that kind of stuff. Um, but no, so basically, I haven't been up too much, Trey. I've just been busy with the little one and going places with the kids and stuff and getting out and about. I haven't done. I'm probably honestly gonna be like just transparent. I am basically probably retired from Madden 25. I'm probably just gonna take a huge break from streaming and all that stuff. And then once Madden 26 hits, I will be doing it live again, obviously, but I'll have a set time in the evening, and that way we'll flow Monday through Thursday in the evening, Trey, like we've talked about on here before. And then on Friday, every other Friday, we will have the podcast and stuff. So basically, I am going to be doing our podcast, and outside of that, probably no streams or anything. And then when Madden 26 hits, I will be really busy, and then I'm hopefully going to be streaming in Madden 626 all the way through the summer next year because I'll have a set schedule and all that stuff. And then hopefully I'll be doing some money games and some money tournaments as well, Trey. How have you been?
Alrighty, so you heard it here first. Shane Avelli the Dawn, Mr. Madden 25 is retiring, so really I think you're letting a lot of people off the hook by retiring too early. There's a lot of goons out there you could probably be beating up out there. So really I think you're kind of letting them off the hook by retiring, but it is what it is. And really, Shane, the thing that I always think about is when we do this podcast every 2 weeks, and I know you've been busy, so you haven't really got to post much on your YouTube channel, at least not as much as you'd like to, which is fine. But I think it kind of helps our podcast in a way because, if someone's like, oh man, I wonder what Shane's up to, I haven't heard from him in a while, and they tune into this podcast and they're really curious because they haven't heard back from you in a while. So really, I think it's whereas if you just burn the people up with streams, it's like, well, I just listened to this guy for 5 hours the other day, so I mean, I already know what he's gonna say and everything. So I mean, you could always look at it like that, but no, that's good. So since you are retiring from Madden 25. Let the people know, since, if we don't hear from you, if you're not in these weekend league, these MUT championship grinds anymore, and you're not going to be doing the tournaments where you compete with the tournaments to get the game for free like you did last year. I'm gonna give my whole spill on this after I pass it on to you, but give the people your recap of Madden 25 if you could overall.
That's perfect, Trey. Yeah. And yeah, maybe people will miss our voice, right, Trey? Maybe they'll be like, "Damn, where'd Trey and Shane go?" And I'll be like, "Right here." Swear word. Not putting money in the jar. No, but yeah. So going over Madden 25, man, I had high hopes because I thought that it'd be like, Madden 16 for me. After Madden 25, I struggled, but I played it a lot at the end and got pretty good. And then Madden 16, honestly, was like one of the best years I could ever, ever, ever have. I was even better than Madden 13, where I made the live event. So I thought that this year I would be like really, really good. But I mean, I was good, but I think I was a little better last year, even though I thought that I would take that step up this year. I did hear from a lot of people though that are, some good pros, a few in the UMC crew, that they believe that I would be a regs goon, like really, really good at regs. And then I thought about like, well, shoot, I made the live event in Madden 13 off regs. In Madden 16, I was balling out and beating pros in regs. So maybe what sucks for me in the long haul is that regs is not, the the whole thing anymore with Madden tournaments. It's usually MUT. I did hear a couple good things though from my guy EA that I will wait until later when you bring it up, Trey. Remind me to talk about it afterwards. But no, Madden 25 was pretty cool. Like I didn't have a huge problem with it. I kind of liked the game. I wish the tournaments lasted longer into like February or March. It would have made it much better. It would have kept, me going and all that stuff. But no, it was pretty cool. Like my main problem is still like if you are in dollar, you should be able to get ran on in power formations. You shouldn't be able to shoot the gap and the offense line dumb out. Um, and then another thing is the switch stick, right? It was a little OP, but props to I'm drawing a blank. The guy who won it all. Trey, help me out. Do you remember his name? Who? Fancy? Wasn't it Fancy? I believe it was.
Shane, I haven't been checked in. It was like a long time ago, but yeah, we'll just go with fancy.
Okay,
I'll look it up.
I think it was Fancy, bro. I think it was Fancy, and he was like the switch stick guru. And anyways, so there is conversation on that, but the switch stick was a little too much for me. I'd much rather have like zones play better than be, switch stick tastic. But that's a little bit. But overall, man, I would give this Madden a 7 or 8 out of 10. It's always going to be pay to play from now on. So for that, um, I'll give it a solid 7 or 8 out of 10. Trey, what about you?
I didn't really have a huge problem with the game. I would say the number one concern I had about this game is it is unacceptable, in my opinion, to have A gap and B gap blitzes, specifically with the double mug. I know that was a huge thing. I don't know if they fixed that or if it's not, or people just learn how to stop it better. But it is really unacceptable when you have an A gap, because it just gives the quarterback no chance when you have free rushers coming through the A gap or the B gap. Furthermore, you don't have the resources. I mean, Shane has been clamoring for this for the whole time. Why isn't there pinch protection in the game? Why did they take it out? I don't know. I mean, EA Sports is incompetent, but so not only do you have something that is unacceptable to be happening at the game, but you also don't have any resource. You don't have a counter to it. And like Shane said with the switch stick, and and for everything that they've introduced, whether that be zone drops, the switch stick, they're covering up for the fact that what would really help them, like for example, okay, we'll make zones better so that you don't have to switch up to your guy so quick because then the zones will do what they're supposed to do and guard it. But oh no, we'll introduce something. We'll introduce a switch stick so people are out here switching and making plays. I mean, like Shane said, props to Fancy. I'm not out here hating on this game or anything, but at the same time, they should just make zones play better if they would invest in that instead of creating all these creating all these gimmicks that are just going to cover up for the fact that there's a much larger issue at hand. I will say that the knockouts this year weren't as overpowered, and that's probably the one thing that I've noticed about Madden these last few years. In Ultimate Team, the zones play too good, in my opinion. In regs, they don't play good enough. So, I mean, it's like pick your poison. If you want your guy to play a flat zone, you need to have the zone KO ability on him. And even then, it's like a 50% chance if he's going to get burned and everything. So, but in regs, you can have a guy, and because he doesn't have that specific ability, he just sits there with his thumb up his ass, and it's just so annoying. But yeah, the whole A gap thing kind of ruined it for me. That was the big thing, and I mean I've said this like 5 times, but I really want to hammer home it is unacceptable for them to have all these A gap, B gap blitzes, and they have no way of countering it whatsoever. I mean, if it was like an edge blitz, yeah, okay. I mean, there's ways you can counter that. You can ID the mic. There's resources that you can allocate to stop it. But when you have dudes that are flying through the A gap and the B gap, I mean, what can you do if you don't have pitch protection or nothing? You have to figure out all these ways that make no sense in terms of real football. But you have to figure out all these ways in order to stop it. So to me, Shane, that's probably where I would say my biggest issue is with Madden 25. I will say that with College Football 25 and Madden 25, the one thing I did like that they did, as far as like because I'm in like the whole franchise mode and superstar mode, I really like the fact that they didn't go the route of making a cinematic story like long shot they did with in Madden 18. I mean, the whole system where it's like, okay, you practice, you do this. It's a little bit redundant, but at the same time, that's what it's supposed to be. No one plays these sports games and wants to play a cinematic backstory with all this drama and all this stuff. They just want to do it. So I'm glad that they did that because if they if they were to do a long shot for college football, then we'd be cooked because it took Madden like 5 years to recover from that whole long shot investment thing. So I mean that's kind of how I think about Madden Madden 25. But so Shane, how were you able to stop the A gap and B gaps, or is that something that's like so outdated to where you're like, Trey, I learned how to stop that. What are you talking about? Like, that's so old to me. But how are you able to counter that when you don't have pitch protection and all that stuff? Oh,
So I was able to figure that out. It basically still had no rhyme or reason, honestly. So for the A gap, you would you would ID the cornerback on the outside. For the 6-1, I think it was like double team opposite defensive end from the running back. The crossfire, it was call play action pass and kill it. And so it was still kind of dumb, like I said, but I did learn how to pick it up enough. Just at the very end, my team was starting to be a little outdated, and so they would start block shedding. and then my line would be like my wide receivers would get pressed just enough where like it made it much tougher. But yeah, basically that's how you pick it up, Trey. So if that's how it is next year, I will feel really, really good.
Yeah, no doubt. Sorry, I just took a sip of the old Coca-Cola, drinking some Coke Zero cherry flavored. So pretty good. But yeah, so you'll be set if it does happen again. But and I mean, you talk about it. I mean, you even said it. You have a relationship with an EA guy, and I know he's not in the weeds. He's not Clint Oldenburg. He's probably limited as far as what he knows, and even if he knew a lot, he's probably not gonna disclose it to you. So, but I mean, is that a question that like you've asked around the Madden community, and like have you received any responses? And I know we asked D Jones about this when we had him on the podcast some months ago, but I mean, as far as like the whole bringing back pitch protection, have you ever got like a reason or like an excuse on why it's not in the game, or are you just as confused as I am on why that's still not in the game?
Okay, so I did talk to the EA guy, so we'll just talk about it right now since you just asked me that question. So it's perfect. Um, like I've told you and we've talked about, he is a little bit harder to get a hold of now. He doesn't respond as quick, but hey, man, shout out to my guy. Um, so nothing, no shade there. He does respond. It just takes a little bit longer. Um, but no, so earlier, I think it was earlier this week, I believe that he did respond to me, and he was right about the first tournament last year being regs. He told me that. I believe you might remember that, Trey, when I told you. I'm not sure, but long story short, so he said that EA is having a conversation about pinch protection, which I'm like praying to the God, like, please, man, come on, man, please bring it back. But they were like iffy on it. And then also it was about pancakes, which doesn't look like it'll get passed. Like they were talking about bringing back the pancake blocks against weak boxes, but it doesn't look like it will make its way back. But pinch protection was like 50-50. He believes they are talking about possibly bringing back Mutt Draft Tournament, where if people don't know, you get a team, you have to draft them, you might get a random playbook and all that. They are thinking about possibly doing one tournament from that, Trey. But the big news on everything is the switch stick, where more of the EA people are leaning towards putting a cap on how many times you're able to switch stick during a tournament. Or I mean, excuse me, not a tournament. Switch stick cap during a game or a play. I mean, so like instead of being able to switch stick like bam in one play, right? They're talking about capping it at 2 or 3 times during a play. So what do you think on that? So I'm gonna re-say it because I messed it up. But so there's three things they're talking about. Weak box doesn't look like it'll get passed, but they're hoping for it. Switch stick, which is, you know, putting a cap on it per play between 2 or 3 times. You can only switch stick. And then pinch protection was 50-50, which I'm really hoping they do on that. Switch stick, I'd be cool if they set it at 2 or 3 times total. What about you, Trey? What do you think about that? Since that is what he did tell me.
All right, so you heard it here first. Some inside information. The whole switch stick. I mean, I think it's like one of those things where it has to be, it's either all in or all out. So I mean, you talk about, oh, it's gonna be 2 to 3 times a game you can do it. Then it's like, what's the purpose of having it in there if it's only gonna be two to three times? And from what I know about EA Sports is that when they introduce something to the game, they don't they don't really move away from it usually because they invest a lot of resources and time into these mechanics that they put into the game. So I don't know if it's something that they're going to take away completely. I mean, it could happen. I mean, I'm not saying that it's not going to happen, but to me, that doesn't really seem reasonable given their track record. Um, so I mean, my prediction is that they probably will do like a 2 to 3 times a game, but just like me sitting back observing, it's like, how would that even make sense? And so, but yeah, the whole pinch protection thing, hopefully they bring it back. And, my hypothesis on why they don't bring it back is, I feel like EA Sports, when they introduced the nano detection system, it was in Madden 16, and I think it was Mike Scrape was the blitz that Rex Dixon was instrumental, and then Madden 17 brought in the nano detection, and another thing that I'm confused by is even after they introduced the nano detection system, I mean, they still have pitch protection. I mean, I'm pretty sure pitch protection was in Madden 17, 18, 19. I mean, I don't even know when they took pitch protection out of the game completely. So my hypothesis on it is they didn't want to bring back pinch protection because they think that, well, we're investing in this whole nano detection system, so why we need pinch protection for. So that's kind of my hypothesis on that. So, but it'll be interesting to see. And something else, since we're talking about going a little bit on a segue here, because we're talking about Madden and the new mechanics and stuff that they're going to be changing for the upcoming game. The rule changes in the NFL, Shane. What is your opinion on the tush push? From what I understand, and from what has been reported, is that the NFL owners are actually split right down the middle in terms of should the play be banned or not. So I want to get your opinion on that, and as well as some other rule changes. I know the overtime rule change was a big thing where the quarters are going to be 10 minutes instead of 15 minutes. I think that's what they changed. And so the overtime rules where each team gets a possession. If I remember correctly, each team is going to get a possession, no matter if it's regular season or playoffs. So what is your whole take on what we've been hearing about the upcoming rule changes so far?
I don't have a problem with the tush push at all. Like, for a little bit I did, a little bit it was annoying, but then I realized, like, Philadelphia Eagles do it the best. Like, if every team could do it and it was, so overpowered, and like there's rules not to be able to, then they'd have to fix it. I don't have a problem with the tush push, so I don't really think it should be banned. I would definitely hear an argument why it should be banned, and then maybe have a better like opinion on it. I do like the OT rules in a way. I think both teams should get a shot, so that's cool. I think, I don't know, man. They got to find out how to make onsides a little bit better, like raise the percentages of being able to get it to like even 10%. Like, I believe, what was it, Trey? Do you remember what the percentage was this year? It was like 1.7% or 2% where they recovered it, down from like 4, down from like 8% 2 years prior or something. Do you remember the exact stats on that?
I don't remember the exact stat, but I mean, I couldn't tell you the last time that I've seen an onside kick get recovered. So
Okay, yeah. So other than that, man, I'm cool with it. Like, I'm cool with the new, like, the rule changes. I think I'm missing one. What wasn't it, like the kick return, Trey? And I can't remember on it.
okay, so yeah, the kick return, and I believe the rule on that now, and this is gonna even affect Madden. Like this one rule change is probably going to affect Madden because I believe they don't want touchbacks. I think the league is trying to move away from touchbacks, and so they're saying that if you kick the ball in the end zone without a return, then the ball is going to get placed. It used to be at 30, but I think now it's going to get the ball at the 35. Which, I mean, if we're talking in Madden terms, I mean, take the ball at the 35. I don't really care. I mean, it's 5 yards. I'd rather have you have the ball at the 35 versus possibly getting a kick return, which kick returns in Madden, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, sometimes you can have, a cool return, get some stick work, but I think it's all luck. So, I mean, if I'm able to kick it out of the end zone, I'm going to kick it out of the end zone. I mean, you can have the ball at the 35, whatever. But if we're talking about real football, I think that's going to incentivize teams to, actually kick off and learn how to cover. But I think the thing that's interesting to me, Shane, isn't the reason they moved from this kickoff rule is because of the safety? Because I guess the original kickoff, from what I've heard, is actually one of the more dangerous plays in football. And so, how are they going to say that they want to eliminate the kickoff in one breath, but at the same time say, well, we still want you to return the ball? I mean, how does that whole thing work?
Yeah, I mean that's tough. I don't know, man. Sometimes if you want to know the truth, Trey, I just kind of nod along with the rules. Some rules I hate, some rules like it's just whatever. So I'm interested to see how it'll work. I was not too upset on the new kickoff like I thought I'd be for this last season. It was what it was. It was a little bit different, but yeah, like my main thing for me is they need to improve the chances for onsides. And what's up, Rose? How you doing? So that's where I'm at on that, Trey.
Right. Shout out to Rose always being in here. Hope you're doing well. We're talking about the new rule changes that are taking effect in the NFL. So if you have any opinions on that, let us know in the chat below. And shout out to everyone else. I know usually we have a few lurkers that are on here watching, so we appreciate you as well. So, with the whole rule changes, and I do kind of want to go back because I actually have a little bit of a fantasy um, thing that I want to introduce to Madden. And if I were to propose this to you, what would your opinion be on it? Okay, so I would bring back pancakes. Now, there would be a limit on it, and this is the limit that it would be. So if you come out in 12 personnel. I don't, I don't even know. I think 10 personnel is like all receivers. I don't really know the personnel packages like that, but essentially, if you have only two receivers on the field and the opponent lines up in a nickel formation where they have more than two defensive backs, there's going to be pancakes, right? There's going to be pancakes no matter if it's in the gun, under center, I form. There's going to be pancakes. Now, that whole system gets collapsed when you try to run inside zone when you have more than two receivers on the field. Because I think if you should be allowed to match personnel. So if you're coming out in three receiver sets, then the defense in turn they should be able to have a nickel corner out there to man up, but still also stop the run if they slide correctly and have some good run defense. So with that proposition, what do you think about that? Do you think it's fair?
You talking about Madden, right? I'm sorry, I had a brain fart.
Yeah. I'm talking about Madden. Did you hear what I said, or did you just
No, no,
did
no.
you just
I
kind
heard
of
everything
zone
you
off
said,
completely?
and I thought you were talking about Madden, but then my brain went kind of dumb, and I thought you were talking about the NFL rules. So I just wanted to make sure. I mean, it's been a long day for me, so I apologize. Rose said the goated podcast crew's back at it. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Like we love that. Rose said there needs to be a pancake system, like how they said, "Oh, read and react no matter yet DBs still take horrible pursuit angles." Uh, yeah. So basically, I agree there should be a pancake system. So I think that like if I come out like he said an I form formation or a big power offensive formation, and you are having a bunch of DBs or even safeties stacked in the box with just a three like defensive linemen, you should get punished. There should be pancakes. The one thing that I think they should make sure that doesn't trigger pancakes is like when they come out in five wide, you guys, and then all of a sudden they'll come back down to like single back, and sometimes in the past it would kind of trigger the pancakes where you got pancake because you're in dollar or 1/4 dime. So they need to make sure if they do bring it back. I don't know, Rose, if you heard, but my EA guy said they're talking about bringing back the pancake system, but or not the system, but bringing back pancakes. But it looked like that wasn't gonna happen. Like they were kind of like on it. And then they were also talking about pinch protection coming back, which would be awesome, and then putting a cap on switch sticking during a play. So that is basically what we've been talking about. But yeah, Trey, I would think that's really cool to have pancakes back. That's just me. But like I said, you and I and a couple other people, um, I sorry, I just read what Rose wrote. No, it's just very few people like us like to run the ball. Most people want to pass the ball, so they don't really care about the whole pancake thing. No, Trey Rose just said I turned my brain off when you're talking, but no, I really like brain gapped it, so I apologize, Trey.
Oh no, it's all good. I mean, I understood. I understand. It's been sounds like it's been one of those weeks. Sometimes I'm like, oh, it's been one of those days, huh? And then they just give me that look, and I change it. I'm like, okay, so it's been one of those weeks or months, and I'm like, I feel you on that. But nah, it's all good, and I mean, kind of like what you said about the whole audibling down from five wide. That would be the bottleneck. That's a big word. I have to give props to myself. That would be the bottleneck of that whole thing because if that system were to get implemented, you would have to figure out a way because people would say, okay, so you line up a nickel, then I'm just gonna I'm gonna have a whole bunch of tight ends. I'm going to have a whole bunch of running backs, which essentially there's no difference between a running back and a tight end. I mean, they run as good as routes as frickin' wide receivers do. I mean, yeah, there might be some chemistries and abilities you can put on wide receivers, but I mean, they figure out a way to make it work. So you'd have to try to anticipate on what people are going to try to do. So that would be the one thing that would have to be a workaround, I think. But I mean, that's kind of how I would do it. I'd be like, okay, so there's going to be pancakes if you want to have only two receivers on the field, and if you have three receivers on the field, then okay, you're allowed to have that slot corner out there, and it just gets, revamped to the newest one. But and I want to ask you, Shane. So do you think that there's a skill in stopping the run in dollar and nickel? I mean, from your understanding, how are people even allowed? And I'm not even saying that it doesn't happen because I've seen it happen. I mean, I've watched it stream, but because whenever I try to do that, I get freaking pushed to the ground. So like, how are people able to stop the run out of dollar? Is it just they just figure out the right adjustments and ways to do it, or is it just luck or whatever?
No, there's a way to do it. Like it's an angle they take. That like sometimes it depends on the year, but lots of times they will like line up to one side and run like slanted in behind like a lineman, and he'll come shoot the gap. But I have been learning that if you ID a certain player, it will pick up the user more. So that's another good thing. So I've kind of learned how to do it, but no, like a lot of the top pros, like a Kiv or a Dez, when I played them, they definitely knew like if they slant in a certain way or And it's usually from the opposite side. So let's say I'm in shotgun, right, and it's halfback inside. So I'm going between the left guard and the center. They will be on the right side, and they'll kind of slant in, it'll come in, or at times they'll dumb out and the computer will come free. So I've been realizing that if you block certain guys, they will pick it up. Rose said it's partial gap shooting skill, yes, but sometimes the blocking is so bad it'll get in their way. And the center double teams, yeah. There's also certain ways to block it a little bit better now that I've been learning. So like I'm kind of cool if dollar is the meta next year. I've also been figuring out that certain calls against a dollar will beat it more. I'll just say it right here, like halfback base really helps. Draw plays work against it. But no, man, it just depends. Like, but yeah, like the very top pros, they usually just slant in Trey from the opposite side of the way the play is going. So like they might come in on the right side, the running backs are on the right side, but they'll slant in and they would dumb out, like kind of like Rose said, and the offensive line would dumb out.
Yeah, no, I mean the run blocking. I mean, just like what Rose said, yo, that run blocking is pretty tough sometimes. And I don't know why that is, but I mean, you have certain plays like 0-1 trap is probably the best blocking that I've seen. You know, where the guard pulls and he blocks the linebacker and stuff. But yeah, you know, definitely some of the run blocking is not great in that regard. And I also don't understand. And you ever realize whenever you're running halfback draw, every time you run halfback draw, and this has been a thing in Madden, but I just kind of pick up on this because you know I'm pretty good at like noticing the little things. Every time you run halfback draw and you're out of shotgun, the snap will be high. I mean, it doesn't really affect the play much, but that's something that I've noticed that was pretty funny. So Shane, the way that you play, and I think all Madden players, I mean, if you've been playing Madden for X amount of years, you kind of have a philosophy on what it is you're trying to do in order to win. So with you, you're like Jim Harbaugh or John Harbaugh. The way that you want to win football games is you want to be able to run the ball and you want to be able to play defense. So so do you think that that philosophy could ever change? Like could you get to a point where if need be you could you know, be like Ben Johnson or like Sean McVay, like be very offensive, or do you think that you're kind of stuck in your ways as far as like your philosophy goes on how you try to win games in Madden?
I've been a little bit better. I've kind of expanded just a little bit. Like I've been passing a little bit more. I think it's like now up to like when it was head to head statistics, I think I was at like 56% pass, 44% run. Um but I think in a way like my best bet is to control the ball, make some right reads and then win with defense. I'm never going to win a shootout. So, like, I will win some shootouts. I mean, like, I'm never gonna win a belt, let's just say, by beating everybody 42 to 35 or 35 to 28. I'm gonna have to control the ball. Hope they make some mistakes. Like, for example, I'll give you one. So I played Dez twice last year, or I think it was last year. Whatever year he won the belt a couple times, and so the first game I played him, I tried passing more, and he had the dollar and he was just stopping my run and also just picking me off, causing all kinds of trouble. I couldn't figure it out. I think he beat me by like 21, bro. The second game I played him, he beat me, I believe, 35-28 or something like that. I might be a little bit off on score, but it was high scoring because I had learned that halfback draws, he had no idea how to stop them. So I kept ball control. And the only reason that he stopped me is I believe in that game I did fumble once. I couldn't stop him at all. So I relied on my defense. It didn't work. But running the ball and figuring out run plays definitely help attack his defense with the dollars. So for me, I probably need to pass a little bit better, which I've been doing, and figuring out how to block the meta blitzes, all while running enough at the same time and relying on my defense to work. So maybe improve a little bit on offense passing, but I think I just got to continue to be able to pick up the meta blitzes, Trey.
Yeah, that's definitely the number one thing because there's always going to be a meta blitz. I mean, you just have to figure out how to weigh and whether that be RPOs, swing passes and stuff like that. And and I'm gonna clip this and I'm going to give out a free tip. And I was gonna post this, but I figured I might as well just post this because it's not really a demonstration thing; it's more of a visual thing. So, in college football, jet sweeps are powerful. They are they're I don't want to say impossible to stop, but they're tough. So one thing I noticed is when you're playing Madden or college football, if your opponent is running a jet sweep, they're going to move their hand. They're going to move their hand kind of in. I just pointed like you could see where I'm pointing at, but it's different from when they're running like a screen pass or they're running a screen jet sweep. I'm gonna say that their hand movements are different. And if you want to know if your opponent is running an RPO, what you want to do is if you come out and you press X and up on the right stick, if the running back's icon is X, it's an RPO. So when you see that their icon is X, you pass commit. That's going to stop the RPOs for the most part. Not all of them, but some of them. So that is a tip that I'm going to leave with the lovely audience of Shane Gayu 11, and I think that's probably kind of hyping myself up a little bit. I'm not the best player on Madden, but I think when it comes to like the little nuances of hand movements and like, oh, this is kind of different, why it's different. I think I'm kind of good at picking up those little details that a lot of other people miss. So I figured I kind of hype myself up on that because I don't think a lot of people are familiar with that. So I'm gonna leave that tip with you guys. Um, but yeah, so going forward, with the whole Madden season, Shane, you're saying you're retiring from Madden 25, you're done. How hard is it, or is it like, do you ever get to the point like where you're bored and you just want to play Madden, or is it just like I don't want to say it's a chore to hop on the game and play, but do you ever just get the urge anymore to just play video games just for the hell of it, or is that just not something that happens anymore these days?
I'm gonna be very, very, very honest, like I try to be all the time. So basically, oh, hold on real quick. So Rose said, well, the Eagles perfected the Madden formula, have great deep power run game and a dominant power play, like Civil says, all good schemes. Push, push. Don't let Trey fool you. He's humble bragging. He knows he's on the Bill Belichick studies the Madden film, picks up a little things with maybe a little bit of pair of binoculars. Yeah, we know how good Trey is. We know how good Trey is. Um, no, man, I'm gonna be honest. So if there's nothing to play for, it makes it really, really hard for me to continue and play. Like when I was young, besides playing real sports, if I was doing um like video games, it would be dynasties. Like college football, I had dynasty. Then I do triple play season career, and then and such like that. And then so it'd be cool like that. But man, then I kind of like didn't play video games that much besides if I was at my brother's house because it just wasn't like it was what it was. But then once I started when I made the live event, and then I realized like I'm pretty good still compared to people. Like I might not be the best, but I'm pretty good. I was able to start making some decent money from it for like that 3 year period. I think I made over what was it, 100 105K, 104K from it in a 3-year period from money games, which is wild, and being hired out. And I was able to play, like, you remember this, Trey. I'd play it like during the day, and then I'd play it at night late, and you would be able to watch some of it, and so that made it really really fun, right? And then the MCS makes it fun because it's competition. There's an end goal, right? Like, I want to win it all. Like, I want to be the greatest. If I'm not the greatest, it's a failure. So obviously every year is a failure to me in a sense. But with money games, when I was doing money games, like, that was exciting, playing $25 games, $200 games, a couple $600 games. Like, that made, like, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. When I first did my first $200 game, I had an adrenaline dump. Um, so it was really exciting. So, but when it's not for money, it kind of makes it hard. And I know the MCS is not for money, but it is in a way. It's for competition to see who's the best, and all the best players are doing it. And then if you're good enough, you do make money from it. I do believe that EA still needs to make it where you can make some decent money on MCS, even if you're like 100th ranked. I know, like, they don't have as many people playing like Fortnite, but like, I do believe they had the final standings of this year and last year, and I was kind of the same place. I was between like 750 and 775th ranked, I believe. Um, Out of, I believe, 20,000. So it's not horrible. So like the 20,000 top players, or the 20,000 who thought they were the top players, tried out. I was still, like, I was in the 3-digit area, the 750s to the 775, compared to, you know, it gives me a little hope, you know what I mean, instead of being like 10,000 out of 20,000. Like, so that's cool, but there's an end game on that, right? Playing for fun for me anymore is really really hard. So that's why my goal is for Madden 26. When I stream at night, I will be trying to build my team up during MUT. I will be spending money on my team. I'm gonna try to have it the best team all the way through. I'll be doing some money MUT tournaments. Even if I fail, oh well, that makes it exciting. And then in the spring and summer, if it turns to money games on regs, I'll just go back to doing that, and then I'll play all the way through streaming for you guys. So that's where I'm at on that trade. Yes. So to answer your question, long story short, it does make it hard if it's for fun and there's no end game for me.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's kind of how you've always been. You're definitely a guy that, likes to compete. I mean, whether that be, through Madden or, pickup basketball. And there's an end game, whether that be, like you said, MCS or money games. When you're betting $200, you definitely get that competitive juices flowing. For me, I get the competitive juices flowing. I mean, even if it's like for free. I mean, the motivation is that I don't want to hear them talk because I'm just gonna get mad if they message me and they talk. So I'm like, okay, well, even if I lose, I want to have it close so that way if they try to talk, I'm like, yeah, you only won by 3 or you only won by 7. I mean, there's really so much you can really talk at that point. So best believe whenever I'm playing, whether that be for free or for money, I'm giving it my all simply because I don't want to hear them talk trash. Like it's just corny to me, but Shane, when you're not because like you said, you're doing it for, I don't want to say monetary reasons. I mean, I guess I could say that, but really what it comes down to is you're a guy that likes to compete, so when you're not doing things competitively, I mean, I can imagine even when you're out there, playing basketball, you're still competitive even though you're old and you're probably in crutches at this point, but you're still out there on the court playing basketball. But what are some things that you like to do casually? Like, do you have any other hobbies that you participate in where you're not as competitive? Are you a big TV show and movie guy? Do you like to go to the mall? You like to shop? What are some of the things that you like to do casually? Yeah.
It's crazy. So like, I've been doing basketball right now. I'm trying to get back into it. and it's competition for myself. Like, it sounds crazy, Trey. Like, I guess I always put like a goal or competition on it for myself, right? So when I'm at the for example, when I used to grow up and I was outside on my basketball court, I would be by myself and I would tell myself I need to shoot 10 times from the free throw line. If I miss, I have to continue, I have to restart, or I have to make 5 in a row, or I have to make 3 in a row. I'd make myself have to hit a 3-pointer before I left. Like, I don't know. I'm just like, and maybe that's what's a little bit missing sometimes as I've gotten older is I love the competition, and sometimes, man, it just, I'm just being real. It kind of sucks. Like, if your body starts to break down on you, like, um, my best free throw streak ever was 48 free throws in a row when we did competitive rec league versus competition, which some of them had played at like the Falls Community College, like D3, D2 schools, and I believe I was for a few years. I was sitting at Trey. I was sitting at like 88% from the free throw line. Like, that's how good I was, and I was able to compete against these guys, and so that's what I did all through my life until about 30. And then, once I hit 30, we were still doing it. And then we'd do tons of tournaments like in the summer, man. We were doing, because you're asking what like do I do, and like I would do like 6, 7 tournaments a summer hoops. We'd go to Kellogg, we'd go down to Reardon, we'd go to Coeur d'Alene, we'd go to Spangle, we do Spokane, there's a couple others that I'm forgetting right now, but that's all we would do, Trey. That's all we would do for most of my time in my life. And then, and then COVID hit, right? So then you couldn't do tournaments, and my friends started slowing down. So it was more my brother and I who were able to do it. But then I had back surgery, and then basically, man, I've been hit with the injury bug since then, and it's probably my body telling me like, yo, Father Time waits for no one, bro. It waits for absolutely no one. I'm a physical player. Like, I'll be in the post, for people that don't know, that's down low in the basketball court, and I will be going against guys much bigger, uh, bumping into them, shooting over them, playing tough defense on them, and I was a very physical player. So all my life, that's what I did. Once I got outside of high school, and the last couple of years, man, like last year, I got gout right before Hoop Fest. Completely hindered me. The year before, I broke my hand, had a foot injury. So now this year, man, knock on wood, I've been pretty good. So I'm pumped. Like, I'm basically we've my oldest and I have gone to the park shooting hoops, and I make it a competition with myself. 10 free throws. I better make 7 or more to be at least, like, I understand that I'm not going to be as good as I once was, right? But no, man, I would go like even now, like I went 10 for or 9 out of 10, 9 out of 10 from the free throw line twice, and then 7 out of 10 last time, and I was pissed at myself for going 7 out of 10. And I mean, those aren't bad numbers, especially outside. It was rainy on one of the days. Rose said, "Gotta stick to that TB12." Didn't stick to the diet of the thousands per week trainer. Shane Wan proved that he was Luka down low. Hey, honestly, Rose, kind of, yeah, man. I like my athleticism was never above average. It was maybe average at best in my prime, but it was more my skill work. Like, I learned how to shoot over bigger players. I learned like, but yeah. So Trey, like, I don't know, man. It's really hard. Like, what do I do for fun? I don't know. I mean, that's really hard. Like, I'll watch some YouTube videos with my oldest son. Like, we have some cool YouTube videos that we watch together, so that I do that for fun. I watch like my sports teams, but get pissed off, so because I'm competitive. But yeah, man, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just like ultra boring, I guess, outside of being competitive, Trey. Like, just being real with you. Like, I like I said, I hate losing more than when I win. Losing's the worst thing ever. So for me, it's always about being better than what I was and trying to be the best. So yeah, I guess I don't really I don't know. I guess I don't do that much stuff fun outside of maybe go take the kids to the park a little bit, take them to the library, go out to eat when I can, and then watch some YouTube videos with my oldest. Trey Rose wants to know who Jeff, if you know who Jeff Horncheck is. I do, Rose, but do you, Trey, know who Jeff Horncheck is?
I have absolutely no idea who that is. No.
Okay, so he was for Utah Jazz. He was a shooting. I believe he was a shooting guard or shooting forward, right, Rose? But it was way back in the day with like Karl Malone and John Stockton, Trey. But yeah, I guess that's where I'm at, Trey. I guess I'm a little bit boring, man, unless I'm competing.
Yeah, no, it makes sense, and I mean it's pretty cool. I mean, with the whole basketball thing, um, it is cool. I mean, because I mean, if worse comes to worse, I mean, it's probably not the same thing, but I mean, if you really wanted to, you could play horse, which you don't. You could be in a wheelchair and still play horse. And I think 21. I mean, I used to play 21 back in the day. I mean, that was lit. I mean, that's probably a more physical game. 21 is because like you're standing in front of people and you have to like run up and get the ball and everything. But I mean, there's ways, and I know Shane, golf isn't your thing, and I mean, you tell that hilarious story, that hilarious story that I always get a kick out of when the first time you played golf back in the day when you damn near killed somebody. I always get a kick out of that. But I mean, if you're getting old, I mean, it might become time. I mean, I'm getting into golf a little bit. I mean, I'm not like a pro or whatever, but I mean, you could consider taking up golf and stuff. But so I mean, it is what it is. I mean, the one thing that I did want to kind of touch on is the New England Patriots. They traded Joe Milton. They traded Joe Milton to the Cowboys for a seventh round pick. They traded a seventh round pick and Joe Milton to the Cowboys. In return, they got a fifth round pick. And this is a big deal because the Boston media, and there's been million sources, legitimate sources, that ever since Joe Milton had a pretty good game in the closer against Buffalo, they have said, oh, Joe Milton is gaining interest from NFL teams. He's going to get traded. But in Boston media, they turn their noses up on it, even though there's been, like I said, multiple publications of other teams that are interested in Joe Milton. And it's just weird to me. Like I feel like the reason that they don't want to admit to themselves that Joe Milton is actually good. I mean, Drake May is still obviously the guy, and I think deep down they kind of feel threatened by Joe Milton possibly becoming the guy. And I remember there was a short controversy when the New England Patriots, they drafted Drake May and they took Joe Milton in the sixth round. And they said, oh, why are they taking two quarterbacks? Because it's just going to make Drake May nervous. And I'm like, can someone explain to me, if you're drafting a quarterback at number 3 and you have high expectations from it, you're gonna say that on one hand, but on the other hand, you're worried that he's gonna have to compete. Like so I must be missing something here because how does that make sense? So that's kind of a rant that I want to get up their chest. I mean, this is something that happened yesterday, so. But I'm happy for Joe Milton. I think that, the whole situation in Dallas, I mean, Dak is frequently injured, so, hopefully Joe Milton gets some playing time in there. Pretty big guy. Reminds me of Cam Newton. He's a big guy that can hit backflips, so that's always a cool thing. That's a rant that I definitely wanted to get out there since I am, in fact, a Patriots fan. I've been following the Boston media, and I've been looking at it from afar. And for everyone, and this is another thing too that I wanted to get off my chest. For everyone saying that, in the game that Joe Milton played well, oh, they weren't even trying, they were trying to lose. And Tanking in the NFL is what Gerard Mayo did in that last game. He cleared the bench. He played all third stringers. Everything short of telling the players not to try, he did. You cannot tell someone that's not a high end starter to go out there and dock it. That does not happen in the NFL. You know why? Because those guys, what they put on film is going to decide if they are good enough to play in the NFL or if they're going to go back into the Canadian Football League and the UFL. Furthermore, the players that played in that Week 18 game for the Bills, these weren't preseason guys. They either made the 53 or the practice squad, which means that they were considered good enough to play the NFL for a living. So I understand that they're backups, but it is different that if he were to play in the preseason when you had an 80-man roster. But all these guys that played in the Week 18 game, they made it to the 53, or they were in the practice squad. So that's a rant that I was thinking about that I had to get off on that. But with all that being said, Shane, if you could tell our lovely audience, because I get a kick out of it every time you tell the story, but going back, could you tell the people the people about the time that you played golf and almost killed someone?
All right, Trey. So my boss and I, who's my friend, and he was my boss at the time, he's like, "Hey, man, let's go to a driving range." And we're up north, so we're like, "Cool, north of Spokane a little bit," and it's a popular driving range. And I'm like, "I've never played before." So we get out there and we're slapping some of the balls around, and like, I'm not a golfer. I'm just gonna let that completely out of the bag right now. I'm not a golfer. Um, so I have no idea what I'm doing, and I'm just swinging like it's a baseball. Okay, like a baseball bat. That's what I'm doing. I'm swinging it like it's a baseball bat, and hopefully I'm doing it right. So I go out there and we're on the green, right? And I'm like, okay, cool. And I line this up and I hit this line I hit this line drive so hard, like, I mean, if you guys could picture a baseball, like when they hit a line drive and it's going like right at the shortstop. Well, when I smack the golf ball, it hits like a frozen rope, and I look and it's going towards the maintenance worker. And I mean, it zips right by him. Like, I to this day I still don't know how I didn't peg him in his head, and it probably would have. I mean, I don't know what it would have done. Well, long story short, they uh they come out and kind of give me the fifth degree, like, hey, you almost hit him. You need to learn to know what you're doing, or something like that. You need to yell four before that, and it totally killed the vibe for it. But like, yeah, it was pretty tough. Trey Rose said L Boomer because you don't know who Jeff Hornacek is. She thinks Drake will do good with Josh McDaniels. Milton showed flashes. He's still a project tour. But yeah, Trey. So yeah, like I said, I almost killed somebody. Rose, yeah, they basically told me to get the hell out of here and they ejected me. I mean, it was close. Like, it really killed the vibes. But I mean, at the same time, I understand it because like I hit it like a frozen rope. Like it was fast because all I had known to hit a ball like that is like baseball. And so I used to, like I said, I used to play baseball for a while, and yeah, it zipped over, and like, I don't know what would happen if I would hit him. Like, that would have been terrible. But that's the story, Trey.
Yeah, no, it's definitely hilarious. Like, and just like the visualization of it. I mean, I wasn't there, so I don't know how it went down, but I'm just picturing like the maintenance worker out there, like, collecting all the balls and doing everything, and he just sees like a missile launched by him, and I'm like, And I'm just curious, like, does he just like get off? He like puts the thing in park and just walks right over to right over to you, and it's just like the whole illusion of it is hilarious to me. But I mean, yeah, Rose. I mean, we got Josh McDaniels back. That's my guy. Um, no one can question whether or not Josh McDaniels isn't a great offensive coordinator. He's been a great offensive coordinator. I am a little bit nervous because I know that the Patriots fans were pretty quick to turn on Josh McDaniels back in 2021. There was a lot of people that thought that Josh McDaniels was holding Mac Jones back when in retrospect that was probably his best season with the Patriots was with Josh McDaniels was there. Not as good as a head coach. I mean, what he did to what he did to that Raiders organization and to Derek Carr is absolutely incredible, and you know, so he is not a good head coach. He should not be allowed to be a head coach, but as an offensive coordinator, the guy gets it done, and really the whole offseason. I mean, the Stephon Diggs signing, the Milton Williams, who's an absolute beast out of Philly. I mean, the Patriots might be back, y'all. I know people don't want to hear it, but with all the moves that they're making in the offseason, and if we're able to snag Travis Hunter, I mean, we could make a run at this thing. So that's where I'm going to leave it at. But I know Shane's over here. He's pretty cranky. He probably wants to get off for the day. So I'm going to throw it back over to him to close us out. Again, we appreciate you guys for tuning into this podcast. Appreciate you guys for that watch it on the replay. We appreciate you, and we will be back. Not next Friday, but the Friday after that. What time? Don't know. Whatever time Shane says, I'll adapt to whatever time it is. So yeah, with all that being said, I'll throw it back over to Shane to close us out for the night.
All right. So Trey, appreciate it. Definitely made me a little bit better mood. Rose, appreciate you being in here. The other couple people that are in here as well, I thank you so much. Trey is the best at adapting, especially with me. Like I said, hopefully next year everything will be set up perfectly. Uh, Rose said McDaniels would find ways to trade Pop Warner players because a kid would call him Jared from Subway. Oh man. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, we will see you. What is today? April 4th. We will see you on April 18th, and don't know the time yet. We'll hope 10:30 p.m. Pacific time, but until then, you guys, this was the West Coast Podcast, and I was Shane, and he was Trey, and we will see you guys next time.